Hey guys, Dylan Chalk here with Scriber, and we're here visiting with Mike Lagana of Lagana's Bananas.
Yeah.
Mike is the greatest home inspector on the island of Kauai, and maybe in all of the Hawaiian Islands. And a good friend, Mike had me out. We did a commercial job together in Kauai, which was super fun. Not everybody gets to go out to Kauai and do a home inspection, so that was awesome. Thanks, Mike, for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to. Mike has some cool stuff that I thought everybody could benefit from. So he is a scriber. He built a completely unique template for Scribeware. I mean, nobody has one like his. If nothing else, nobody probably has a lanai section in their report, and most of the rest of us probably have heating chapters in our reports, which I don't think.
That's correct. And just for the record, I couldn't go to work for any of you inspectors because I really don't know the first thing about heating, and frankly, I don't care to learn.
Well, yeah, you don't have to as long as you're cozy and warm there in Hawaii. You can leave the boiler systems for the rest of us. So, no, cool stuff. Well, so when I first met Mike, he was kind of kicking the tires in Scribeware, and he told me that he had kind of a workflow dream that he basically just wanted to take pictures and caption them. That like that's all he wanted to have that be the way that he can do a report, and it's pretty cool. We like kicked the tires for about a year or so, but I think we kind of got to the point where he's close to that. And so I wanted to show you maybe his finished reports. We can kind of look around. Mike, you could, I'll steer for a bit. You can show us your finished reports and kind of how you designed them, what you had in mind. He's done a lot of stuff with custom CSS to give himself a unique look to his reports. And I think he's really using his inspection reports, his scribe reports, to grow his business to where now he's wondering about scaling his company and like maybe hiring more people. And another interesting thing we wanted to touch on that we'll get to is what do you do if you build a template that's really designed for you with your own kind of madness built into it? And then how do you start to, what sort of template problems would you have if you start to scale your company and you want to hire new people? So we're going to kind of look at Mike's template on the back end and talk about some of those things. So I'm going to go ahead and share, Mike. We've got one of your reports up right now. And, all right. So can you, let's see if, there we go. I think we're getting it. Cool.
All
So
right.
this is a Scribeware report, HTML report. I've kind of clicked on the full report. You want to, where should I start going, Mike?
Yeah. In Scribeware, you start out with your boilerplate right here,
Yep.
and this is my boilerplate. There's not too much stuff in here specific to my area, but there is a little bit. Look at this. Well, you just passed it. Many municipalities. So this is something that I've encountered here in Kauai is like a lot of municipalities. They are terrible at enforcing their own building codes. I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I've done an inspection for a seller. The house was built 5 years ago, and they say, "What do you mean this is against code?"
Yeah.
It passed the inspection. Well, big deal. That doesn't mean anything to me at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so with my boilerplate, I'm really trying to get them to understand their home and what I do during the inspection.
That's right. Yep.
So go ahead and scroll down.
That's awesome, Mike. I just wanted to point out that, like, to me, that's actually the purpose of why we built these boilerplates is it's setting the stage for what the expectations should be. And, whatever your business model is, you might not want to even touch code or even go there. Well, then this is your moment to say, like, this is what we're doing as part of your home inspection, is that this is a defect only report. Or you could do what Mike does and get into the nuances of code and set the standards or the stage for the fact that, even new buildings might not meet it. So that's perfect, Mike.
Yeah. Okay. And then let's stop right here, Dylan,
Yeah.
on the defect or damage designations that may appear in the report. We do things a little bit different in that I don't have individual observations for defects. I have defect classifications. So the whole theory behind the report is keep it as condensed as possible. I have very few chapters and overall very few sections in the report because that helps me navigate quickly.
Mm-hmm.
By having a designation for the severity of the defect, I don't have to have individual observations about particular defects, and we'll see this as we go down.
Love it. So you've built a template in the sort of spirit of Scribeware parlance, sort of gunny sacking things, right? So that
Oh,
lots of stuff is together so you don't have millions of individual comments. And I'm just going to jump for a minute. We could go look at your summary page, but
Yeah.
for simplicity, you do some, look how simple the summary page is. You got two modifiers here, significant concerns. Notice how he's got 0 set there. So if there are no major concerns, that's there. And then 5 repair items. So we could click on these and we can see how with the bullet items, he's kind of gunny sacked a bunch of things into one comment. So, a great way to kind of cut down on the length of the report. So
Right.
so cool. So let's now we're out of the summary. We're into the full report. I love how you do the left right thing. That's probably a pre-made caption that you have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the reason we do that is, how many times have you been on an inspection and break out the compass and say, well, it's kind of, the door faces southeast, and that would make this corner over here,
Yeah.
you know,
It.
it's maddening. So I solved the problem by just saying, hey, look, this is what I'm calling the front.
Yeah. I made a big mistake of doing north, south, east, west, and I don't know. It actually. I mean, one thing that it's funny, but where I live, there's like giant mountains to the west. And like big bodies of water. So it's actually relatively easy. Like if you lived in a place where you don't have these big landmarks, it's a lot harder to orient yourself. But in any event, it's
I
still,
live on a round island.
yeah, yeah, where the mountains are like, yeah, it could be at a different angle constantly. I get it. So
Yeah.
anyway, cool. So one of the things I wanted to point out, you've done some custom CSS. So I don't think I've ever seen a Scribeware report that looks like this, and that's kind of why we support custom CSS, that you can give yourself a completely unique look. I think the report looks really sharp. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I have a coconut tree for exterior components.
Yeah, you like the emojis. That's pretty cool. Not everybody likes those, but that's great. We support them, and I love like that you do it your way, and then nobody's got a report that looks like yours.
You know, that check mark right there, I thought I made all those go away.
Okay, well, it's one of those things that,
Left.
yeah, that's like one of those fluid things you're always working on. I wanted to point this out about Mike's reports is you kind of don't use any of the descriptive fields that we built into Scribeware. You have none of that built into your template at all. So
And that's because the gunny sacks are such a great tool.
yeah, that you don't really need them. You've just built it right into your narratives, basically.
Yep.
It's very cool, Mike. It's creative, and it actually kind of cleans up the report, right? There's just everything is in these narrative boxes now. So that's pretty neat.
Okay, I see a mistake right here in this report. I didn't see this when I was publishing the report. I think I have this in maybe landscaping too. But this tree here, see this blue section? This is a blue maintenance,
That's fine. Yeah. Yeah.
the driveway. Scroll up right here, maintenance or repair items, driveway. Gosh, I don't know what happened to the caption. I was noting a little bit of some cracks near this tree root.
Yep. Yep.
And then I would throw that captions to bullet points, examples of observations noted during the inspection include, and then I would have this caption. You'll see that throughout this report.
Yep. Yep. Well, it's one of the things that you're not doing with not having the descriptive fields in your template is you're losing a lot of the sort of required field functionality that can help you. You could also use the flagging feature to try to make sure you remember to do these. So
Right.
I would call what Mike has built here a parent comment, right? And it kind of it sets the stage where all you need to do is put the photo caption in, like he did. We'll go find one.
Almost everywhere else.
Yeah, so here you can see he's got the photo captions in here. You can set those as pre-flagged so that they come up, pre-flagged. But if you're not using the flagging, you would be at greater risk of forgetting to put a caption in. Yeah. So the flagging, and when we jump into your template, we can kind of look at the flagging and show how that works. But you might think about setting your, you could set all your things as pre-flagged and actually use those required fields. And that's a good segue when we get to it into, scaling your procedure so that you could hire people. So great looking report though, Mike. Some great stuff on here. Can we go to where would be the roofing section? Is that an exterior components?
Yes, you're right there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Here. So what you don't see, scroll up a little bit.
Yep.
See where it says additional roof photos? With roofs, I might take 50 pictures of a roof because I just want the backup, and so I
Mm-hmm.
put those in a photo bucket,
Mm-hmm.
and then I pull from that photo bucket and put the ones that I want in the report um, into this inspection details observation. See that additional roof photos, but it's an inspector only comment with the rest of my roof photos that I have just in case a question comes up.
Yep, I gotcha. And so, have you needed those before? I mean, does that prove helpful?
Every now and then,
Mm-hmm.
there's a question, and I'll just look through these photos and go, oh yeah, over here, you see how the trees were against the roof on this side, and it's caused some damage over here. I would normally note that.
Yep. I literally today just got a question about a dented refrigerator, and I had pictures of it because I did overview pictures of the kitchen.
Right.
I put all that into the report, so I put most of my pictures in the report. But I know a lot of people like to have those CYA pictures, and you can have them just sitting there in Scribeware, and you can choose whichever ones you want to put into the report. You could show us that workflow when we go to the back end, and I'll let you steer a little bit. So it looks like we've also got some various repairs. You can see how, I mean, you probably put about 8 different repair items into one comment, just using the photo
Right.
captions to bullets.
And that goes back to my point. Instead of having observations for flashing, for sealant, for plumbing vent boot, the rubber things that crack all the time, and the lead flashings. Instead of having an observation for each of those individual things, these comments here are kind of catch-alls for anything that you could have for roof that falls under a maintenance category.
It's really interesting. We've brought in to Scribeware a bunch of templates from different softwares, and when I look at a lot of people's templates, what they view as their narrative library, I view as a photo captions library.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's just kind of a layer of magnitude thing. But I really think of a comment as something like, you need a roofer. And then, the things like lead flashings and plumbing boots and, leaky skylights are all photo captions, at least in my mind, So you've kind of,
That's true.
yep, especially in Scribeware. But I think if you embrace that, you can have a much more concise report. I mean, Mike's got one comment here that's like, hey, you need a roofer, I think it's a nice way to do it.
But I'm designating that most of this stuff is not serious. Most of this stuff on this roof is simply a maintenance issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Here's another example of our the purple.
The one up
If
above
you
here.
scroll up. So this is recommended improvements or updates. We're noting that the grade slopes towards the house, but you see in my gunny sacks and the details above, we didn't see any damage to the structure at the time of inspection, but we are saying, hey, this is something that could be improved. If you ignore this for too long, it's eventually going to have an impact on your house.
One of the pieces of language I picked up from my buddy Charlie Buell is like under recommendations, he'll often say something like, improve during the next grading or drainage or site work,
Right.
distinguishing like I have a lot of electrical findings that I sort of say I would do this the next time an electrician is out, basically.
Right. That's
Which is kind of helpful, right? I mean, it's nice to have things that are kind of like, look, this isn't urgent, but it's not right, and the next time you're doing something like this, it could be corrected, and
right.
not a lot of people don't like to get into that. They just want reports that are defect only reports, and that's fine too. There's nothing, you don't have to do this, but I think your business model is closer to a building consultant where people could, this could be a blueprint for maintaining the building for a bunch of years.
You just brought up electrical. How many times have you seen a white neutral wire that's not colored black?
Yeah,
It's
that's
really
right.
not hurting anything.
Yep.
It's not right.
Yeah. And I think the improvement upgrade modifier combined with some language of like, hey, the next time you have an electrician out, I would correct this. It helps, like, it allows you to comment on it without, it's not a repair. I mean, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's an improvement. And, that was one of those things that the code changed on it too. I mean, there was a time that you could do that, so.
So can I point something out here on this next
Yeah.
observation?
Yeah.
Here again, this is a use of gunny sacks where the information about materials, the wall construction type, that's all in the gunny sack for exterior walls and eaves.
Yeah. So all of this is replacing what you would do in like a styles and materials type section or in, pre-made clicks, but it's all in a narrative style. It looks like a much more narrative presentation of it.
And then, case in point, this is a single wall construction. This is something that most people have never seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get a client from California, they don't know what the heck a single wall structure is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so I kind of do a little explanation.
Yep. Yeah, and we have single wall construction here, and I always point that out. I would distinguish it. Here, it's probably a little more deficient than in Hawaii, where I'm guessing a lot of stuff's single wall in Hawaii, huh? Yeah, I mean, you just don't have the sort of thermal envelope type things that we have, right? So
We don't care about thermal envelopes.
yeah, exactly. No, good stuff, Mike. That's very cool. Well, why don't is there any other things you want to look at here before we jump into the back end, and you can kind of show us some of your workflows?
Let's stop right here
Okay.
at this orange one.
Yep.
These are just my opinions of higher urgency repairs.
Mm-hmm.
It's more urgent than the maintenance stuff. And so I separate those two things because here's what you need to do first.
Mm-hmm.
And so we might have 3 or sometimes even 4 different colors. This is a urgent repair item. This is a maintenance item. And here's some suggested improvements for this component.
Yeah, all within the same comment, or would you do a different comment?
Well,
It looks like you've got some maintenance here versus important evaluations. So you've got more than one thing in the same area, more than one modifier.
yeah. So I think the report presents well.
Yeah.
Here's another, since you're here, the foundation of this home is typical of plantation days architecture, and homes are still built today in similar foundations.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll down to these pictures, most of you guys would say this foundation is incredibly deficient. There's no footings. There's concrete blocks set on the dirt. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, the footings aren't even like into the ground at all, right? It's just like this, like sit at the sort of level, and we'll start pouring little concrete piers. Yeah.
And there's no hardware.
Yeah. That's all just gravity. Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't look great for a hurricane, I must say.
These did amazingly well in Hurricane Iniki in 1992.
Yeah.
And I think that's because they move and give a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You've got good airflow under this home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's kind of a benefit.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Pretty cool. No, I mean you have a lot of work to do to kind of set the stage of what is normal there, right? I mean, for anybody coming from the mainland buying a house in Hawaii, it's like buying a house on Mars or something. I mean, it's just a completely different type of construction,
Yep.
So,
Yep.
I see it's important to kind of set the stage, and it's why you've really done a lot of work to try to explain some of the background information of how things are built in Hawaii and what's going to be normal and stuff.
Right. Yep. Yep.
I wish I could hire you to inspect my Kauai house, Mike, but I don't have a Kauai house.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to get one. No, good stuff, Mike. That's pretty cool. I like it. When I was out inspecting with you, it was fascinating to just see how different things were, and I definitely took in how corroded exterior electrical components got.
Yep.
That's the real deal there.
Things rot
Yeah.
quick here. And we have, this corrosion is quite typical for the age and location. Yeah, it's corroded, but it's no surprise.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean that's just becomes a more common. I love how you have lanai, good local language. It's like you even took some pictures of the outbuilding, which is kind of cool. So you've got other structures. That's probably really big there. I think a lot of properties have more than one property on them.
More than one building. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see it all the time.
Yeah. Here's some corrosion that I was sort of getting out in front of, right?
Okay, look at this point. Here's another peculiarity. I know this isn't like, we're not here to talk about my market, but look at these jalousie windows
Yeah.
right near the floor.
Yeah.
Code has very little to say about jalousie windows. There is nothing about those jalousie windows that's against code. But I see it as a potential safety issue because a 3-year-old can take out those wood or glass slats.
Yeah, yeah.
And so therefore, in my recommended improvements, I'm just making the point, hey, if you've got little kids running around, you're probably going to want to improve this, although technically it's not wrong.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's actually really, we have similar issues with code of just second story windows where I am, and when they're close to the floor, they're still to code, but like, geez, a kid could open them and go leaping out. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be. So I have a child barricade comment that is an improvement item. So yeah, no, that's good stuff. All the more
And
reason to have an improvement modifier, isn't it?
yeah.
I love those windows. They always make me feel like I'm on a holiday somewhere warm.
And they're always broken like that.
Yeah, I bet they are. Yeah, that's funny.
Half these you get it, God do them just by hand.
That's great. Cool, man. Well, should we jump into the back end and you can kind of show us a little bit of your logic of how you've kind of built this workflow of sort of mostly captioning pictures and let's see. I'll pause the recording for a minute and we'll rejigger some things here.
By the way, insulation isn't required here. The only reason I brought up insulation is because they didn't finish installing it. They decided to throw some up in there, but they just left the
Oh, that
bundles.
makes sense. Yeah. So you're no insulation is required there.
Not until the last code cycle did they begin to require it, but
Interesting.
the lack of insulation in a home here is simply not a defect because
People don't insulate their homes there. Yeah. I mean, it's. I'm a little surprised because you'd think air conditioning, would be a thing and that they would want to, be more efficient there. But
there is 5 to 10 times more AC here than when I first started. When I first started, it was rare to find an AC
yeah,
system.
because Hawaii's amazing. It's like cools off at night. It's like warms up during the day. It's so nice.
Hot, open another window. If you're cold, close a couple.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, can you share your screen and show us the back end?
Sure.
Or if you want, I could share. I'm in your report, so like I could walk you through.
Go ahead and open up this this template here.
Okay, you want me to share that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Say when.
Cool. So we're back on the back end of this sample report. So one of the things I just wanted to jump to, so I don't forget about it, that I thought was sort of cool is do you do an inspector note that holds all of those pictures? Yeah, here they probably are. So additional roof pictures.
No, those aren't. Those are supposed to be roof illustrations. I'm not sure
okay.
why you're.
Like,
Well, they're
yeah, they're loading right now because I'm impersonating you. So this job is not on your account. Like I'm sort of logged into your account. So some of these things are just
different illustrations of flashing and whatnot. I put all of the. Well, actually, I was wrong. These are my additional roof photos.
okay. Notice how Mike look at your all emojis. There's not even any words for your chapter for your sections within a chapter. Why don't you tell us about that?
Well, the reason I did that is because I can't see as well as I can or used to, and the words sometimes are blurry on when I'm trying to see things on mobile. I can identify the emoji better than I can read the words.
Interesting.
And so I just changed and eliminated that. You look at the template on my phone, and it's nearly wordless.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty cool.
Convenient for me.
Yep, and it lets you navigate pretty quickly, right? I mean,
Scroll up just a little bit, back where you were,
okay.
to roof. Click that little camera icon, the checkbox at the top.
This one right here, yep.
Pardon me.
Bless you.
Yeah. Did scroll down a little bit. Did those open up? Yes. So I put all my roof illustrations in my roof section because then I can just drag and drop whatever I want into whatever observation I want.
It's a very cool technique. So that's really if you're accustomed to and want to and okay with finishing on the desktop. But what he did is he put all of his illustrations for roof into an inspector only note, so not included in report. And I'll just show you how you can set that up. But if you go under settings, sorry, it's a little lagging because we're recording and impersonating Mike's account. But under observation modifiers, you can create a modifier that is neither in the finished report or is it this illustrations and images? So here's where you would include a modifier in the summary or include it in the report. And if you toggle both off, you end up with a modifier that is not in it. It's just for you, so it doesn't go into the report. So yeah, and then if he wants to, he could kind of drag one of these up into his template. So I do that with stairs, like where I have a stair gunny sack, and then all of my illustrations come up in a different comment, and I just kind of drag them in if I need to.
And the other cool thing is you drag a picture out of this illustration, you don't lose it. If you just, once you've got the illustrations out, you click the recycle button. Next time you open it, they're all there.
Yeah, that's right. It's because you're really almost just borrowing them, unless you hit update. If you were to update this comment, and you dragged one out, you would lose it. But as long as you don't update this comment, you could drag them up and then just recycle it again the next time, right?
Yeah. And if I've stolen any of your illustrations, please forgive me. I take what I can find.
Well, you're welcome to have all the Scribeware ones. So.
I got it.
That's why we built them. So pretty cool workflows. So let's discuss, well, are there any other things? I wanted to get into your problem of scaling, because I think that you've built something that's completely unique. Nobody has a template like this. You've got a workflow where, by and large, you're taking pictures and captioning them and using gunny sacks, so that you're not having to write very much, I'm guessing. Like, now that this is written, you can use a lot of recycled language and kind of click things to make an incredibly custom report for a client. So you've kind of minimized to eliminated writing, but you haven't necessarily built a workflow that is easily repeatable for a new inspector, have you?
That's correct. And that's the challenge I'm facing right now is this template is built for the way that my brain works, and I'd venture to say it works differently than most.
Yeah.
And so the thing is that I'm having trouble getting my guys to think like me, which has led me to the conclusion that I need to make more of maybe a checklist style of template where they can just answer questions to capture the information needed.
That's right.
What's needed. I don't need these little prompts to, hey, does a water heater have a pan? I just instinctively look for it, whereas a new guy bringing people on, hey, look, here's the information that you need to capture during the inspection.
Yep. Yeah, let's jump into that. This is pretty cool. This is that foundation comment we're looking at, but you could see Mike has even more information available. So you could click on these gunny sacks, and he's got all kinds of other comments, narrative comments, that he can engage with just the click of a button. So this is the secret to letting him produce these very narrative reports where, he's only really written these narratives once, and then he can kind of add and mold and modify a comment by just sort of clicking on pre-made observations. So that's pretty cool.
The other cool thing about this is that you save your observation, you make a change to your observation. Let's say you add a gunny sack comment and resave it. That saves throughout the entire template, because we have a 3 home template that's this template 3 times. But if I modify this foundation comment, it also modifies the 2 other homes that I have in the 3 home template.
And is that because you're basically sharing the same library category in those other templates? Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll show you guys that so you can see it. If you edit this section that we're in, edit and then edit library category, you can kind of see that he's got these 4 these 4 categories, attached to this section. In his other template, if he uses these same categories, and he's really using the exact same comment and sharing it between templates. That helps him just not need it's reduces maintenance if you have multiple templates. One of the things that I've found is that I've tried to eliminate the word home in my home inspection report, primarily because it's not really the best word. I mean, a home could be like, under the bridge, or, in a field, or under a rock. I mean, whatever you consider home. And so, house would be, I think, more accurate. But to me, there's nothing wrong with calling it a building. I mean, a house is a building, and a commercial building is a building, and so then you've got one word that can work for everything,
Case in point, Dylan, if you could go up to property information, the top first chapter.
This gunny sack.
Well, the first chapter in the template.
Okay. Yeah.
Back to that front of home picture. So click that, the front of home.
Yeah.
You'll see that I have a gunny in my caption.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So you've got text replacement within the caption to be able to kind of move that around. That's pretty cool.
I do that a lot.
It's important to know if you are new to Scriber that we support a completely separate photo captions library that's different than your main library. So pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. And you can do text replacement within the photo caption. So lots of power.
So anytime I mention the word home, I'm filling in those that I can change the caption to building, structure, whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyways, yeah, you can go back to where you were.
Oh, you do have an HVAC section.
Yeah,
present. Well, at least you have one, right? I'm sure some of the fancy homes must at least have AC system.
Yeah, they do. We're seeing more of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at the appliance. I mean, this is a huge comment.
Yeah.
It's everything to do with appliances in the home. I only need one comment, though.
Yeah, yeah. And then you dump all your pictures of the appliances into the one comment.
Right.
And, it's hard to say Mike didn't inspect the appliances here, right?
Yeah.
You got a picture under the sink.
And since you're there, scroll down a little bit, Dylan. Here's my defects. Again, just using emojis.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and click one of those. It's not. Yeah, click the orange dishwasher. That one. So on the template on mobile, I don't have any words. All I have to see is that orange 0 there,
mm-hmm.
or the orange O, and I know that it's this. Hey, this is an important repair for your dishwasher.
Yeah,
it's leaking.
That's super cool. Yeah, that's really neat.
And so the template, particularly on mobile, is very, very compact.
Yep.
For easy navigation.
Yep. And so rather than having like all these millions of individual comments, you just have like it's a repair, it's a major thing, it's an improvement, and then how do you get the actual defect in there? You just take a picture and caption it.
You could drag any picture from the gallery and caption it.
Yep. And you have do you have a pretty robust captions library?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can go under Mike's template. We're going to view library, and in the library we can show everything, but we can show only media captions. And so now we've got probably no air gap or high loop was noted, dishwasher not functional, damaged seal, and you can retrieve all these on your mobile with just a keyword search. So you could start typing in seal, and it would find that comment.
Right. And because each of these are in a library category, let's say I'm in Windows, I've got 6 captions or whatever for window screens.
Yep.
And so if I type the first 4 letters of screen, my 6 captions for window screens are there, and I just select the one that I want.
Yep. I'll just show somebody how this would work. Like under this dishwasher, let's say there was a seal issue with the door seal, and you start typing in seal, and there you go. And you could even speak it in. I mean, there would be a lot of ways to do it.
Right.
So
I'll go ahead.
Well, one of the things you could do I just deleted your comment, but this is a sample that we're playing with. So we'll go under the where's the dishwashers right down here. Do a repair, or actually, I think you were using this one, weren't you?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. You could pre-flag this. So if you flag it and then you update library,
mm-hmm.
and then we'll delete it, now it'll come in pre-flagged. So it will remember that. So right now you're not really using the flags, but I really think this technique would help you not forget to caption something,
Okay.
So, what you would do is try to make it so that, for you there might not be any flags originally because you're not using our data fields as like, a flag to make sure you find the main water shutoff, make sure so right. You're not doing that, which is fine, but you could get it where you don't really have any flags except the things that you need to make sure that you checked, and then you can kind of,
right.
You hit this flag, we could then tab through the report and find the various areas that maybe you forgot to put your caption.
And that's something that when I maybe not even simplify,
I feel it's complicating, but for scalability, I'm going to be using those flags. Hey, you've got 3 things, Mr. Inspector, that works for me that you haven't looked at yet.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. I mean, and that's that kind of, maybe we should segue. Do you want me to jump into my template and show you kind of how I've done like water heaters or something? And would that help?
Sure.
Or
I want to point out one other thing, though,
yeah,
or maybe 2 other things.
yeah.
The other thing is this entire template, all these chapters that you see on the left, I can see all of those without scrolling on my phone. So I don't have to look for stuff.
Yep.
The
Yep.
other thing that I've done that I think is kind of unique, you see this little code in the label?
Like up here, that
Right.
OELEX. Yeah, cool. Tell me about that. What's your sorcery there, Mike?
Okay, that tells me that it's the O, the beginning, that's the orange for electrical service. The ELEX is my code for electric service. So if I if I take a picture, and this is before you guys did the new tagging, or being able to drop things in observations. But basically, I know I don't have to remember. It just makes sense. If I search OELE, this one comment comes up, and I just drop the photos in that I want.
Cool. So your reason for this is global keyword searches, then.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every one of these is unique and easy to remember. The first letter is the
Yeah.
color.
It's a huge benefit. Some things that would really speed this technique up from or that makes it so fast for Mike would be with having a lot fewer comments and a lot more gunny sacking, you can use fewer comments, and the global keyword search is much more effective to like retrieve your main parent comments. I had another thought of what would be so great about that, of just definitely using fewer comments, but there was another thing too.
Well, click on the recommendations. I've got 2 gunny sacks in that recommendation. Now this, I set it up as the default, but I can change any of these recommendations to suit the defect if I want to.
Yep. Yeah, that's nice. And so is this like a universal thing that is then available? Like, did you set this
Yeah,
up?
yeah, it's in every comment.
Yeah. So you basically have a universal recommendation. So did you build that and then build all your comments from that, really? Like recycling that over and over? Yeah. So if you wanted to build a new comment, how do you do it? Just like just fiddle
I
with
would
this one and then hit edit in library and add as a new library entry.
Yeah.
So that lets you keep kind of a pre-made formatted comment, and then yeah, again,
Right.
what I did, if you guys like this idea, is that you could, if you author one comment and then change it and then edit in library and hit add as a new library entry, and then it'll be a different one, and you could give it a different label at that point if you wanted.
These bullet points wouldn't be in there, neither would the photos.
Yeah, that's right. You would just be doing the comment. Another thing to understand is that OELEX thing that he built is part of an observation label that stays hidden, so the client doesn't have to look at that.
Right. It's entirely for my reference,
Yeah.
so I can find things quickly.
Yep. I know the other point that I was trying to make that slipped my mind. So on the mobile app, we have a feature where let's say you find a lost seal in the house, and you go to your comment, and you put in a lost seal, and then you know what happens. You're on the other side of the house, and you find 2 more of them, so you take 2 more pictures. On the mobile app, we have a ability to hit add to existing observation, and so you could then take those 2 new pictures and dump them into that comment really quickly. You don't even have to navigate there, right?
Right.
And so that's a huge benefit of the way you're gunny sacking things, is it creates these photo buckets, so you just don't have that many different places for your photos to go, which just speeds things up, and I think makes it easier for the client to read. They don't need to read 10 comments that there's 10 different lost seals. They can read 1 comment. You need somebody to fix all the glass,
Can I point something else
Yeah.
out here? So scroll up a little bit. This inspection details, it's kind of my photo bucket when I do have some specific photo buckets for things I take a lot of pictures of: roofs, foundations, attics. Otherwise, this comment itself is the photo bucket, and then I can pull that into my defect observations if I like.
I got you. So you could use this as your photo bucket. You know that you want an electrical inspection overview comment every time. You could dump all your electrical pictures there and then drag them into the comment later if you wanted to.
In this case, it would be in the next comment down. I wouldn't.
Okay. You would put it in this one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, anyways, it's my photo bucket, and then because I take a lot of pictures of panels, and then I distribute those into my defects comments as I need them or where I need them.
Yeah.
Another thing that I did, if you scroll up, and again, I don't know if this is of value to anyone. You ever do something like you've got all these individual defects with a particular component, and none of them by themselves are especially egregious.
Yes.
But there's 100 of them.
Yes, Mike. Yes. Yes.
And as a whole, you know what? Overall, this is really screwed up. And so if you scroll up, let's say on electrical, I have one master defect comment. Go ahead and click that comment there, electrical system, the red one.
Yeah.
This is saying I have 100 defects, and therefore I think the entire electrical system should be given the once over.
My only critique is you need a nuclear button for it, or a little nuclear bomb emoji.
All right, yeah.
But no, I do a similar thing, and I actually think it's a real problem with how some reports that I see is, if you have 20 repair items in the crawl space, it's not 20 small repair items, it's one big thing. Like, you need someone to fix the crawl space. That's sort of, the genesis of our gunny sacking came from, not feeling like it was accurate to have a long list of repair items when, in fact, it was one bigger thing. Like, hey, there's a lot wrong here. I also think the long list of individual items does not adequately reflect often the risk of additional concealed things that are likely to be found when you found this many other things,
So read that gunny sack comment right there in the recommendation.
A thorough evaluation of defects noted in the report, determine if additional defects exist, and repair or replace components as deemed necessary by a qualified electrician. That's right. I mean, you're saying you're anticipating that there will be additional defects, and I have a little gunny sack in mind that's like, it's on the quantity and type of observations noted here. I would anticipate additional findings that are latent or concealed, But whatever, there's a million ways to skin this, but again, it's all sort of. Mike has really taken on the sort of idea of gunny sacking of let's try to roll lots of comments into one. There's times that you don't have to do it, obviously, but I think there's certainly times like we're talking about here that it can be not just more effective, but really more accurate.
Can I tell you where I spend most of my time?
Yeah.
I had mentioned, Dylan, that I just spent 7 hours on a report. Here's where I get bogged down.
Mm-hmm.
In explaining the onesie condition that's a little bit odd or different. Because my clients often have never seen the home in person, I can't help myself. Sometimes I'll write a paragraph and I think it through because I think I got to make this like an airtight legal brief that no one can argue with. So I spend a lot of time thinking about things that gets me bogged down.
Yep. That's where your profitability is taking a big hit from just your own psychosis.
Exactly.
I mean, that's I've tried to kind of wean that. I used to do that a lot. I mean, I used to write these long paragraphs about things, and I found that personally I didn't think anybody read them. They were hard to write and they were hard to read, and that was a lot of what led me to the gunny sacking and trying to kind of keep it simple. It's just captioning photos. And you definitely have a workflow where a lot of your work is captioning photos, but you can tell that you like words. I mean, you've got really narrative statements explaining multi-wire branch circuits and, temperature ratings on the wire and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
It is hard. You go down these rabbit holes, and all of a sudden, when you need to freehand a comment, you feel kind of trapped into like a style where you have to be more verbose,
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And I have to get over this mental block
Mm-hmm.
that I have.
Yeah. Well,
But I I like my captions brief. If you see this comment about multi-wire branch circuits, this little paragraph. But in my caption itself, scroll down to the orange, there appears to be one or more multi-wire branch circuits installed. So I try and keep the captions themselves fairly brief. I leave the explanation up in the details section because I want my defects to be just that, kind of bullet points.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this frees you up where, like, you know, I am guilty of having some language like this built into my repair comment, which really makes the repair comment long, and it's really could be a lot better to have all the background information in a separate comment and then keep the repairs really short and sweet, you know?
Right, and that's what I try and do.
Yep, yeah. Yeah, I tend to use more of like a descriptive modifier that would like even kind of shrink this down a little bit, like it makes it a little smaller and more like fine print kind of thing. Just as a way. Look at all your modifiers. That's awesome.
Well, most of these are factory. I only use 6 or 7 of them. I mean, most of them come with the template.
Yeah, yeah. That's pretty cool. Good stuff, Mike. Yeah, so, I mean, I think the problem that it sounds like you've got kind of a thriving business. How is your inspection fee relative to the competition?
It's my goal to have the highest fees in the United States. I live in one of the most expensive markets in the nation.
Yep.
And I think that our reports are superior to most others that I have seen being produced, not just in my market, but across Hawaii. So my philosophy is I am offering a premium inspection. You're not going to get this with anyone else. I have the best software. I have the best template. I've got the knowledge, and my fees reflect it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's again, for if people are just listening to this, like everybody's got different business models. It's what I love about this industry. I mean, people say home inspector, and to me, that I don't know, it's like car. You know, there's all kinds of cars. You know, and some of them are like Yugos, and some of them are Ferraris, and some of them are F-150s, and you know, it's like you got to choose your business model. So, you know, and if you're, go ahead, Mike.
Well, I feel that what I've done has affected the industry across the state. Fees in Hawaii have about doubled, as have my own fees. I am always the first one to raise I guess it's a good problem to have, but when my competition on this island, which there's only 4 or 5 of us, when they get close to my fees, I have to raise mine again. Because there is such a difference between what I do and what everyone else does. I have to be 10% higher than anyone else. Or if I'm the same price, there's no difference between me and the other guys.
Yeah. Well, if you're putting this kind of time into a report, you gotta pay for it, you know, and people are willing to pay for a nice service. I mean, it's a bit like, you know, home inspections are tough because it's buying insurance, really, right? And you know, it's hard to compare one insurance to another because you hope you don't need it, you know. But I certainly had my share of clients that want to pay that premium service. So, but you know, as you're starting to get your company is getting successful, you're contemplating maybe expanding. I can see some problems with this template for expanding because it's not a repeatable thing, right? You built like this kind of Ferrari for you to use, but you can't sort of hand the phone to a new guy and expect them to do it. You know? Yeah. We could jump out.
Yeah, I want to see what you got.
Yeah, I mean, and this is just what comes with Scribeware, but this is in the narrative template, and I don't do everything like this, but you know, I actually found that I've been inspecting for 23 years, and I found that I would like forget things on the water heater. I don't know. There's a lot of little stuff to look for, and like the client's yapping at you, and like you're thinking about something else, and like it's hard to stay focused. And so we'll create a new report that we can fiddle with real quick. But you know, I think that with your template, without having the required fields feature being employed very well, and by avoiding the like pull downs, you've lost a lot of the sort of checkbox type effect that you can build into your template. That, you know, I kind of joke that I could hand my phone to a 5-year-old and they could at least do okay on a water heater. You know? So we don't have to go through the whole thing with my water heater, but what's the energy source? It's electricity. Where I live, they're required to have restraints. So are there straps present? And as soon as you hit none found, then boom, there's your comment about no straps. Is there a pad? None noted and required. And I could even expand this where I am per energy code. If an electric or 80% efficient gas, well, it's really for electric tanks. On concrete, have to have a pad. So, and I've got an illustration, and
I've never heard of that before.
yeah, it's a energy code thing for us. So,
Oh,
drain pan, none needed, not required. Present with a drain, present drain not visible, present without a drain. I mean, you're starting to really like do some hand holding here to kind of make it, you know,
right.
you could click on this, and I've got some extra. In this case, it looks as though a moisture alarm has been installed, right? Because sometimes you see a pan without a drain, but they've used a moisture alarm.
See,
I don't know.
your template, Dylan, would be much easier to, like you said, you can hand your template to a 5-year-old.
Yep. Well,
You can't.
and my whole template's not built out like this. So, I do kind of a blend, and the blend is that, like, to me, where this breaks apart, Mike, is like exterior siding. You can still use this technique, is there wood decay, or is there loose or damaged siding, but you do start ending up with a lot of individual defects. You're not gunny sacking nearly as well, and almost by default, you have to have more vague comments. So, like, we could even look at, like, my deck gunny sack has, this has got like 300 comments in one comment. So, incorrect bolting, ledgers over siding, and hangers are corroded, and lateral load connectors missing. So I don't use this that much for several reasons, but I mean, here's an interesting one. Lateral load connectors missing, to me, is more of an improvement item than a major concern. Hangers corroded. If I use voice to text to caption it, I can be way more specific. 4 hangers at the south side are corroded, probably because of the hose bib above it has been leaking or something. I mean, you're just never going to have that in a pre-made comment. So there are limits to how, for me, for things like siding and decks, it's harder to do. Whereas my metric, Mike, is all of the systems that are sitting there right in front of me: an electric panel, a furnace, a water heater, kitchen, a bathroom, an attic, a garage. There's really no reason where you can't build out these sort of things like I did. We could go look at my fireplaces real quick, but under gas fireplaces, which I know you don't know what those are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every now and then we have a ornamental fireplace.
Oh, you do? All right, right on. Yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, is there a fan? Yes or no? And if it's no, you get a little comment about that you might be able to put one in. Was there a mantle? Yes. And I have a whole automatic thing about determining clearances to the mantelpiece. For me, I always forget to find the gas shutoff. And so is there a gas shutoff? Yes, and I can snap a picture of it. So anyway, all of these pull downs, which you are not implementing, are a great way to kind of hold the hand of an inspector, make sure you find everything. And even as kind of a veteran inspector, it helps me, especially when I'm tired, like I just don't want to have to think, and I can open up this thing and go click, 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 and it might be a little bit slower, but it kind of makes sure I'm not missing anything,
So the interesting thing about seeing your template here, Dylan, on one hand, I hate it because you got a ton of comments and you got a lot of scrolling to do.
That's right. Yep.
On the other hand, I think it's super cool because you have all these reminders and it's just all I have to do is click this comment.
Yep.
If I want to throw a picture in, I can.
Yep.
And so I absolutely see the advantage of what you're doing.
And this is such a good conversation, Mike, because there's no panacea here. I mean, I think one of the great things about Scribeware is it supports any business model. I mean, we've got scribers with 20 inspectors doing them all on site. We've got scribers, one-man shops like you that, charge a ton and don't, could spend hours writing a report. And
I'm a 3-man shop, but yeah.
Yeah. But either way, I mean, we support whatever business model you want, but there's always like consequences and trade-offs of template design.
Yeah.
And I designed mine I wanted it to sound custom every time, but I also didn't want to forget things. I wanted it to be my brain for me. And my business model is sort of 2-3 hours on site and an hour writing a report. That's kind of like my goal.
I,
We all
I,
get, huge houses where you spend forever writing a report, but
I'd love that.
yeah, I mean that's but again, like I think that the whole point is that it's important to really think about your business model and what you want out of it. And if you want on-site reports, then you design a report template for on-site reports. And if you want to finish it back in the office, there's different techniques for that. And
Yeah.
I have found personally that, like, for me, I am much faster on the mobile for about 80% of my report. And then, and it's a little hard. If it's a really weird house, it's a lower percentage. The weirder it is, the more I want to finish it on desktop. I want to, I have to write some things by hand. I want to think about what I'm saying. I might be looking up codes or manufacturers' installation things to see if that's actually legit, some installation.
Right.
But anyway, I think most buildings, I find somewhere between 60 and 80% of it, I prefer doing it on the mobile. And at a certain point, I think it's a little faster on the desktop. Again, it depends how you set your template up and how much detail you want to put in. Yeah.
I 100% agree. My template is designed for mobile use. Speed on mobile at the property, capturing information quickly is how I built my template. And if I wanted to, I could complete 99% of the report on mobile. The issue is I got fat fingers and failing eyesight, and so there comes a point, like you said, where, you know what, this is just going to go faster if I get to my desk and type it out or dictate it out than trying to tap it out on my little mobile phone.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and in my experience, most buildings present either, at least 50% of most buildings is kind of the stuff, and then the next 50% is up for grabs. You get really normal houses where almost the whole thing's normal and fits into all your boilerplate, and then you get these weird wrecks that have had 9 remodels and started in 1814 and all this stuff. And those ones, it's just you're just sort of in survival mode often to kind of find anything that's normal, and so your reports take a long time. I've actually been thinking of adding a question to my onboarding for booking inspections of, is the house in good condition or not, and just charging an extra $100. I mean, you're at the mercy of people's opinions on it, but often nobody tells you, and you show up and it's this.
If you talk to the seller or the.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the pre-listing, they're never going to fess up, right? So whereas the buyers would always be like, oh, it's in terrible shape. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a hard one to kind of have to manage. And you were thinking, Mike, one of your thoughts, if you were to scale, is you're thinking of maybe having a premium product and a different level of service.
Yeah, that's right. At my age and experience, I'm really looking to move more into a consulting role. If you want a very good basic inspection, that would be kind of a step down, because I think so much and I put so much time and detail into these reports, almost every report. So if I can make a template with these drop downs, more of a checklist for me and the guys, okay, boom, 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 done, and offer that at a price point that works for a lot of people. Hey, but if you really want, I feel funny calling myself an expert, but I do have 30 years in construction and 10 years as an inspector, and
Yep.
I know my market. And so, hey, if you really need me to wrap my head around all the nuances of this house, well, the fees are going to be up here.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be cool if anyone's watching this, you could chime in on comments or something. But it would, I don't see a problem with having multiple layers of service. And I think you have a little bit of a challenge of defining it clearly for the client, so they know what they're getting and what they're not getting. But if you're spending 7 hours writing an insanely detailed report with every nick and scratch, I love that kind of thing. But that's not for everybody. Not everybody wants that, But yet some people, if it's not offered, then, and that's what somebody wants, then they're almost set up for disappointment before you even get out of the door, right?
On that one, this was a 7-hour report. The home was 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
but everything that could be wrong was wrong. And this is a client. He's a retired engineer, and he's got a disabled wife.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to him ahead of time. He hasn't seen the home, and so I'm trying to describe every
Yeah.
little thing I see, because they're investing their life savings into this.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, and that's it's really important to not take the people out of our business, isn't it, Mike? I mean, at the end of the day, it's a service, and I love home inspection because we get a chance to help people. You know,
Right.
I feel so lucky to have a job where I feel like I'm really trying to help people, get them good information, and be a good consultant. And I'm with you. I think it's worth spending the time to help the people, but you know, it is hard. We also have to run a business, right? And so there's these tricky business decisions of like, how do you do this in a way that, you know, and then of course the long reports, you risk alienating agents. That's a whole like, you know, podcast unto itself. But you know, that's another thing that you have to navigate that, you know, I bet the agents would probably like a faster report that's more defect only, like let's just like get down to brass tacks. But you know, that's why there's different business models. But
Right.
it'd be cool to see what you end up doing. If you guys are listening, you want to get a job in Kauai with Mike, and it sounds pretty good to me. I'm ready to
Hey,
fly out.
I mean, the model I'm looking at is finally expanding to the other islands. It's not something that I've wanted to tackle at this point, but it's the logical next step for where I'm at in my life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so if I'm going to do that, I know I need to make changes to our process, and I need to really have a different mindset.
I think you do. Scaling is a different thing. You built a really original workflow that nobody else has, and it seems like it's been very successful for you, but it definitely presents challenges to scaling. Maybe the best is, you know, you build a different template and it offer a different service that's a little less expensive and a little faster and a little more repeatable,
Right.
and then try to market that clearly so that the client can choose what level of service they want. You know.
The good thing is that I have a really good reputation here on Kauai, and Hawaii is not that big of a place overall. And these agents, they will sometimes do deals on other islands.
Mm-hmm.
And so among real estate agents, I'm a known quantity. I'm trusted by a lot of them. And so a referral to an agent on another island, I don't think it's going to be that hard to do.
I just wanted to show you one thing you could think about. You could arguably even brand the company differently. In
Oh
Scriber,
yeah.
we let you, this is just my company, but you could toggle out of Orca. I only have one company, but you could toggle into a different one. So you could rebrand the other service,
Yeah.
because that's really one of the risks is that you dilute your brand of kind of this high-end brand. So if you're doing this, I think some people I've talked to about this have created a whole separate brand around it, so that, and then you could create a different look to the report a little bit. Obviously, you know.
You know, that's the first mistake I made when I started this business in choosing the name. I Hawaii Home Inspection, so
Yeah,
I pigeonholed myself to this island.
yeah.
And Hawaii is kind of regarded as the backwater among the islands. You know, we're the hillbillies out here.
How's your
And
banjo playing?
the what?
How's your banjo playing?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So a rebranding, if we expand, is definitely going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Cool, Mike. Well, what a great conversation, man. I think we covered a lot of stuff. We talked a little bit about the challenges of trying to take a more single person shop, even though you have three guys, like that type of mindset and what you might need to think about template wise for changing, and saw a completely different way of doing Scriber that I've never seen. So if we got Scribers on here, hopefully you got a few tips that, you know, one of the things to me about report writing is you might hate it, you might like it, but it's worth thinking about, right? And you know, to me, I can usually grab a couple ideas from anybody's report that I want to kind of mold into my own, you know. So hopefully,
At the end of the day, I think our report presents well, and
yeah,
that's important to me.
yeah. No, that's great, man. It's beautiful. I love it. I love how original it is. You did some great work. So thanks for sharing with us, man, and great catching up. And we will hopefully you'll have me out, you know,
Yeah.
to
Next
Kauai
time we
for
do.
another commercial job.
Yeah, next time we do 27 roofs.
Yeah, that's right. That was awesome, man. All right, see you,
Well,
buddy. Take care, man.